Okay, so for today, what we're going to do is we're going to write linear equations in standard form. This is chapter 5, section 4. Make sure that if you're taking notes on paper, that you write all this stuff down so you know it's standard form. Other students that are on iPads, you should be good to go. Yesterday and the last couple of days, we've been working on slope-intercept form. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to look at standard form. We're only going to do part A, right, or day 1, and it's going to go pretty quick, right? So first of all, example, we're going to write two equations in standard form that are equivalent to 4x plus 2y equals 12. So let's review a couple of things. First of all, slope-intercept form. Okay, remember that was y equals mx plus b. Remember that? We did that, kind of beat it into you, right? The m was the slope, the b was the y-intercept, right? Today we're going to use that, but we're also going to look at something called standard form. And that looks like this. It's ax. A is a number, and then the x, plus by, so b is a number, and then y, equals c, and c is a number. Okay, so x has to come first. He's the line leader. He always needs to come first. And then comes your y, and then comes the equals, and then comes the c, which is a number. Okay, so really important to understand the difference between the two. Now, let's look at this problem closer. I have 4x plus 2y equals 12. I'm going to write that down and leave a little spot before this. So 4x plus 2y equals 12. Now, what we're going to do for this problem is I need something that's equivalent to it. What does equivalent mean? It's the same. So these are going to be the same as this, just a little bit different form. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put parentheses around these, and I'm going to put a 2 out front. Why did I pick 2? I don't know. I just chose to pick a 2. Doesn't matter. Right? And you're going to distribute. So 2 times 4 is 8. So I got 8x plus 2 times 2 is 4y. And then I've got an equals. And 2 times 12 is 24. And that's it. And I'm done. Okay? Now, it asks me for 2 of them. So I'm going to take this equation again. And I don't know, I'm going to pick the number -1. Why? I don't know. Just chose that. So -1 times 4x is -4x plus -1 times -2 is -2y equals -1 times 12 is -12. And I can also write it as -4x minus 2y equals -12. Okay. Why did I choose 2 and -1? I don't know. I just did. I did not choose 0, though. Why wouldn't 0 work? It would wipe it all off, right? It'd be like an atomic bomb. It'd be like, boom, it's all 0. We don't want to pick 0. Why didn't I choose the number 1? Because it'd be the same thing. So I want it equivalent to it, but I want different numbers. Right? And you go, well, Mrs. Medvick, when am I ever going to use this? You're going to use standard form when we work with elimination, it's called. And it's going to be coming later in 3rd quarter. So it's really important. Slope-intercept form we use more with substitution. So you can't go, oh, I don't really care. I'm not going to learn about it. It will haunt you later. So make sure that you understand this because we will revisit it later. Questions? Okay. Let's move on. Write an equation in standard form. Notice it says standard form. So what I'm going to do is step 1, and I'm going to go off to the rest side and tell you what we're going to be doing. We're going to be finding my slope. Right? So we've done this before. I've got x1, y1, x2, y2. And then I get that formula, m equals what? y2 minus y1 over, very good, x2 minus x1. That's right. Look familiar? Yeah. I still have a couple of you, you don't know this yet. We got to kind of get it into our brains. Right, what's my y2? -4 minus what? -1 over 2 minus 3. Very nice. Okay, I do my chop chop. My numerator is -3 over -1. That's correct. And notice a negative divided by a negative is a positive. So I end up with 3 for my slope. Okay. Looks familiar, doesn't it? We've done it. We've done it a lot. All right. That's the first step. Second step is we're going to find the y-intercept. And you go, Mrs. Medvick, we've done this before. You're right, we have. So what am I going to do? I'm going to use y equals mx plus b. What am I going to grab? I'm going to grab a point. Which point? Does it matter? Does it matter? So yeah, we can grab 2 comma -4, and I'm going to grab my slope, m equals 3, and I'm going to use the equation y equals mx plus b. Now, if my slope is wrong, will this equation be wrong? It'll be wrong, but that's okay. As long as you have the process there, you're human. You make mistakes, right? You're not going to get an F because you got the problem wrong. As long as you have the steps there, I'll take that into account. Okay. So what's my y? It is -4 because remember my ordered pair, I've got x and y. So I got -4 equals my slope 3 times 2 plus b. That's correct because I'm trying to find my b. Okay. All right, so I'm going to multiply. So -4 equals plus, and then I subtract my 6. Very good. And I get -10 equals b. Perfect. Okay. So I found my y-intercept. Have we done that before? We have. We've done that quite a bit. Right? Notice how I've set different things down for you. We did a bunch of slope. We did y-intercepts. Notice how I'm getting those snowballs together again, like we talked about to make that snowman. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to put this into slope-intercept form. So I'm going to put it into the form y equals mx plus b. Right? So my slope was what? 3. And my b was -10. So y equals what? Very good. Anything different from yesterday? Nothing. It's like, seriously, Mrs. Medvick, why are we doing this? This is really stupid. Right? We're going to go now to standard form. Remember, that's ax plus by equals c. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this thing, y equals 3x minus 10. And I want my x to be the line leader. Is it line leader right now? It's not. So how do I get it over there? I'm going to subtract 3x from both sides. And that cancels. So I get what? Plus y equals. Okay, now, does x come first? And then my y? And then an equals? And then a number? Yes, but I'm going to tell you we got a problem. Okay? This number right here, that -3, okay, I'm going to try to write that a little bit better. Okay? It can't be a fraction or a negative number. So think of it this way. If you're in elementary school and you remember being the line leader, Remember how excited you were? You're like, ah, this is awesome. I'm line leader. Woohoo, right? Do you want a half a kid? Do you want 3/4 of a kid? How about 1 3/4 of a kid? I don't want that. Yuck. Okay? So think of it that way. Your line leader needs to be a whole number.
A whole kid.
It has to be a whole kid or a whole 2 kids, right? You're going to hold hands. So right now we're okay. It also can't be negative. Okay? You don't want a negative kid leading the class. No, you don't, because you know what's going to happen. They're going to take the group to art, and they're supposed to go to music. And they'd be like, where'd my class go? Okay? So think of it that way. I don't want a negative kid taking my kids where they don't, and half a kid. So if you think of it that way, sometimes that helps. So, yeah. So what we're going to do is this. I'm going to take this now, and that skill that we just learned I'm going to use. And I'm going to multiply it by a -1. Okay? So now watch what happens. -1 times -3x is 3x plus -1 times y gives me -y equals -1 times -10 is 10. That's right. All right, and someone asked me last hour, Mrs. Medvick, can I write it as 3x minus y equals 10? Absolutely. Either one of these would work for me. I'm fine with either one. Okay. Notice my line leader is not a fraction, and my line leader is not a negative. 3 is a whole number, and it's positive. Okay. Now, you can ask the question. I'm going to add a page here. Mrs. Medvick, what would happen if it is a fraction? So, like, let's say, for example, I have -2/5 x plus 2y equals 9. My line leader's not only a half a kid, but you got a -half a kid, which is disaster. Okay, blood all over it. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But what do? So this is what you're going to do. Number one, it's negative, right? So I'm going to make this a negative number, right? And then notice that it's 2/5. So I'm going to multiply it by a 5 because that's the denominator. So if my denominator is 2, you multiply it by 2. If my denominator is 10, you multiply it by 10. And that's going to get rid of that fraction for you. Okay, so -5 times -2/5 is 2x. Because a negative times a negative is a positive. By multiplying by 5, you're getting rid of that denominator. Okay, plus -5 times 2 is -10y equals -5 times 9 is -45. And again, if you want to write it as 2x minus 10y equals -45, you may do that. That's just fine. But that's how you do it. You don't want a to be negative, and you don't want it to be a fraction. Yes, sir. Oh, you got a question? Okay. Any questions on this? Okay. So the assignment for today, I'm going to give you the love of knowledge. Here you go. 1 through 1. Very good. Now, page 314, and we're going to do 3 through 21 odd. Not even 10 problems, okay? Or just 10. Do the problems. Check your answers. Make sure you're doing it right. It's so frustrating to do all this work, and it's wrong. So do it and check it. Is it exactly 10?
Yeah.
I didn't count. Okay. So it's exactly 10. Should go pretty quick. And now tomorrow we're going to use that information. So make sure that you know what you're doing so that when we revisit it tomorrow, you know what you're doing.